Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Comic Issues Daily. What's up? Today's show is stacked. We got rumors of Plastic Man movie with an A-list director, a Predator prequel comics, and ties directly into the new movie. Dark future versions of your favorite heroes, the most overused X-Men tropes, heartbreaking Batman sequel delays, and Marvel's next massive Venom event. And of course, the CovrPrice Daily Shakers Report. Let's get into it. In just a second, we'll get into it. But please remember about the GoFundMe for Brandon, aka Mon Comics, and his family, who lost their house in a house fire a couple weekends ago. So there's the GoFundMe right there with the QR code. You can go support that if you want to. And also, before we dive in, today's episode is sponsored by Ron's Comic Closet. You can grab comics, new releases, back issues, and others from ronscomiccloset.com. And don't forget to use the code IHAVEISSUES at checkout for 20% off your entire first order. Support the channel, grab some killer deals. Everybody wins. All right. I came across this super cool report from CBR, and DC Studios reportedly is in developing Plastic Man with an all-star director, written by Deana Carpenter, who at CBR, and it looks like the Plastic Man movie might actually happen. The article dives into this rumor that's been floating around for a while about DC Studios working on a film for one of their most consistently comedic heroes. You know, the guy who can stretch and shape his body into anything. The main twist and the part that has everybody's talking is the potential involvement of the director, Darren Aronofsky. Can you imagine the guy who did Requiem for a Dream directing a wacky, stretchy superhero movie? It's completely wild. The whole Aronofsky rumor was sparked a while ago when James Gunn mentioned Plastic Man, Teen Titans, and Sergeant Rock were in development, with Aronofsky attached to the stretchy hero. While Gunn was coy and said at least one of those rumors was false, the article points out that the Teen Titans and Sergeant Rock have since been confirmed, leading this new report to suggest that Plastic Man is now also officially being developed. The catch is that there are still no concrete details on the plot or the casting, and Aronofsky's involvement is still up in the air. Carpenter noted that the film is expected to be a smaller, low-budget, more comedic project similar to the upcoming Clayface movie. It sounds like DC wants to use the film to bring some much-needed humor into the DC universe. They had a little bit of quirkiness and corniness in the Superman movie. The article also mentions how actors like Ben Schwartz, who voiced Sonic, are huge fans and have talked about how perfect the role would be, emphasizing the character's comedic potential mix with his former life as a petty criminal named Eel O'Brien. So while we don't have a release date or a confirmed director, the article gives fans real hope that this unique, funny character is finally making his way to the big screen. Do you think Plastic Man fits into James Gunn's DC universe, or is he too goofy to work? Let me know in the comments. And then we're going from stretchy comedy to deadly hunters. And I just found this awesome first look on bleedingcool.com, an article called Our First Look at the Predator Badlands official prequel by Rich Johnston, and is confirming some cool details about the new Predator movie. Apparently, the new comic, Predator Badlands #1, is the official comic book prelude to the upcoming film, and it's being handled by Marvel Comics. The best part is that it's being made in super close collaboration with the movie director Dan Trachtenberg. I apologize about that one. So it's going to be a necessary part of the cinematic story, not just a random tie-in. The story is going to be written by Ethan Sachs with art by Elvin Ching, and it focuses on a young Ujat, that's what the Predators call themselves, warrior named Deke, who's an outcast from his own clan. In this one-shot comic, Deke's father gives him what sounds like a simple chore: go receive some tech from a derelict spaceship that crashed ages ago. Of course, this is a Predator story, so inside that crashed ship, he finds something ancient and incredibly deadly waiting for him. Johnston explains that this is designed to be his essential formative adventure for the protagonist right before the movie starts. The article emphasizes that the director is super excited about the comic because Badlands is the first Predator movie to heavily draw inspiration from the comic book in return, making this prelude feel like a passion project. The goal is to give fans a richer experience by showing them this key moment, Deke's life, just before the film arrives. So we get the comic on November 12th, and the movie hits theaters that same week. It sounds like a must-read if you're planning to see the new movie. Will you grab Predator Badlands #1 before seeing the movie? Sound off below and let me know. And speaking of dark futures, let's talk about heroes who turned villains. I came across this super cool listicle on comicbook.com written by Nicole called 5 Heroes Who Saw Their Future Selves Become the Villains. It's all about the intense dramatic tension when a hero literally meets their dark potential. You know, that famous line, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think that goes out to Christopher Nolan and Batman, maybe. The most striking and horrifying example on her list is the Hulk becoming the Maestro, an intelligent, tyrannical ruler. The Maestro survived a nuclear apocalypse and was only made stronger by the radiation, but lost every shred of Bruce Banner's morals. Drum emphasizes that his existence serves as a visceral warning of the Hulk's unbridled destructive potential. Drum pointed out that the DC heroes on this list also face brutal, dark reflections, especially the Bat family. Tim Drake, Robin, one of the best and most moral sidekicks, meets his older self, the fascist Batman of Titans Tomorrow. This dark future version of Tim actually starts using the very same gun that killed Bruce's parents to execute villains. It's such a chilling choice that perfectly illustrates the corruption of a hero's ideals. Even Bruce Wayne himself faces visions of himself becoming a brutal, totalitarian controller of Gotham, showcasing how easily his obsession with order could slide into tyranny. The article emphasizes that this core conflict, where a hero confronts their dark potential, is such a powerful narrative-driven narrative device because it forces the current hero to seriously question their methods and face the potential awful cost of their power. For example, Iron Lad's entire heroic journey is entirely motivated by his fear of becoming his terrible future self, the time-traveling villain Kang the Conqueror. It's a tragic paradox where his heroic journey is just an attempt to escape an awful destiny. It really makes you wonder if they can even truly escape their fate, as Drum highlights in the conclusion. Which hero's dark future do you think is the scariest? Hulk, Batman, or Iron Lad? Drop your thoughts below. And now let's shift gears to the Marvel mutants and their bad habits. I found this on comicbook.com, and it's called the 10 most overused tropes in X-Men comics that really need to end. And it was written by David Harth. He perfectly nails everything annoying about the comics lately. Basically, Harth argues that the Marvel has fallen into this creative rut of repeating the same 10 predictable tropes and is totally killing the storytelling. For example, he's sick of the constant self-destruction, like the endless cycle of X-Men fighting X-Men, all of those schisms and civil wars, which completely destroys the family dynamics. Worse still are the storylines that undermine the characters, like consistently having to make Professor X a secret manipulator, evil Xavier, or excuses Magneto's mass murdering actions because Magneto is right. These repeated plot devices stop the characters from growing, making them feel like they're just stuck in a frustrating loop of drama. The article explains that Harth wants Marvel to retire the most depressing and repetitive plots immediately. The biggest one is the constant threat or act of mutant genocide, which makes every story feel grimdark and takes the fun and hope right out of the franchise. It's also tiresome. Harth notes that they keep having to write stories about characters losing their powers. Finally, he throws shade on the editorial decision that keeps the spotlight too narrow, like the excessive focus on Wolverine, who is so popular that he overshadows the entire diverse supporting cast in a team book. The article is essentially a passionate plea for Marvel to ditch these tired plots, embrace fresh ideas, and allow the X-Men to evolve instead of constantly hitting the reset button on their suffering every few years. Which X-Men trope do you think Marvel needs to retire first? Let me know in the comments. And then for Marvel fatigue to Gotham heartbreak. And this is called, I read this article, it's called Today's an Incredibly Sad Day for Batman Fans. And it was written by Deana Carpenter. And it perfectly explains why October 3rd is such a bummer for anyone who loved Robert Pattinson's The Batman. Basically, if things had gone according to the original plan from Warner Brothers, we would have been sitting in the theaters right now, or last night, watching The Batman Part 2. That date, October 3rd, was the initial release date. But thanks to big industry strikes that shut down Hollywood a while back, the film script development stalled out and the whole schedule got completely screwed up, resulting in multiple major delays. Carpenter explained that the sequel has been pushed back not once but twice, which is just painful. The article confirmed that the movie, which was already highly anticipated, was now being delayed until October 1st of 2027, which is a huge wait for fans. It's a huge wait for a film that everyone is hyped about, especially considering how critically and commercially successful the first Batman movie was, or The Batman was. It's a bummer, but at least the author gives us some updates on where the production is, noting that director Matt Reeves and his co-writers are finally finishing the tweaks with the script. I think they've started filming or about to. The good news is that we at least know what to expect and when it finally does arrive. The article confirms that Colin Farrell is definitely coming back as a Penguin, even if he says his role is smaller this time around. He gave a little quote saying he's read the full script and it's a deeper, scarier, and the stakes are bigger, which sounds awesome. So even though this particular October 3rd served as a painful reminder of what we don't have, at least the updates from Carpenter's article confirms that the creative team is working hard to make sure that the sequel is worth the incredibly long wait. Will you wait 4 years for Pattinson's Batman sequel, or does the delay kill your hype? Tell me in the comments. And now over to Marvel Symbiote Corner and is getting massive. All right. Bleeding Cool has reported that Knull and the Queen in Black are heading towards a Venom event in 2026. This article is written by Rich Johnston and is setting up the next huge symbiote story at Marvel. Remember how intense the King of Black event was? Well, this is the start of the next one. The article explains that Marvel is building towards a massive event in 2026, and the immediate catalyst is a showdown between two gigantic cosmic villains, Knull and Hela. Specifically, at the end of Venom 250, Hela was crowned the new Queen in Black after she managed to seize Knull's power and take him prisoner. That's the starting point for the whole epic conflict. That's a hell of a way to start a potential new story conflict. The next stage of the rivalry is going to play out in the new 5-issue limited series simply titled Knull, which launches in January of 2026. The series is going to be written by Al Ewing and Tom Waltz, and it's all about Knull escaping his captivity under Hela. She thinks he's a helpless prisoner, but as the article teases, the god of the void is going to use nothing as a weapon to break free and reclaim his throne. Johnston points out that the struggle between the captured King in Black and the newly established Queen in Black is the central dark conflict that will shape the future of the entire Venom corner of the Marvel Universe. The whole thing sounds like it's going to be a huge galaxy-spanning clash. The article confirms that the new Knull series is only a pivotal chapter that directly leads into a major symbiote event coming later that year. Plus, as a fun side note, they're even promising the return of Kid Venom, a team-up series in 2026, which shows how committed Marvel is to making the symbiote world a massive part of their slate for the next couple years. If you're into the Venom stories, you definitely need to watch out for this one. Are you more hyped for Knull's return or Hela as Queen in Black? Let me know down below. And to wrap things up, let's talk about the comic market heat. And today's Daily Shakers report, the clear king of the hill is in the set of sales is the Incredible Hulk 181 from 1974, which pulled in a massive $7,200 sale at a high on a CGC 9.2 grade. As the newest book on the list is positioned as the #1, showing the enduring strength and demand for Wolverine's first full appearance. It's the definitive modern key that still commands the highest dollar value. Just below that, the rest of the top 5 is dominated by other crucial Silver Age books, specifically Tales to Astonish 27 from 1961 at a $4,500 price tag. The debut of Hank Pym / Ant-Man, and 2 classic villain-defining Avengers Spider-Man issues, showcasing the foundation of Marvel's universe remaining the most valuable real estate for collectors. The sheer quality of key issues in the top 10 demonstrate that buyers are prioritizing historical significance regardless of grade. For instance, the Brave and the Bold 28 from 1959, which features the first appearance of the Justice League of America, still sold for $1,910 despite its low CGC 3.0 grade. Low grade is better than no grade. And similarly, Fantastic Four number 48 from 1966, the first appearance of the Silver Surfer and Galactus, moved for $1,375 even as an uncertified raw book. These sales prove that the market is willing to pay premium prices for truly iconic debuts, even when the condition is less than perfect. Beyond the major Marvel and DC superhero sales, a couple of interesting trends emerged concerning condition and diversification. The list includes several highly desirable Golden Age books, such as a Flash Comics 37 from 1943 and 2 early Batman issues from the 1940s and 1950s, all which sold for well over $1,000. Crucially, the list is not entirely made up of superheroes. The appearance of Richie Rich #1 sold for $1,100, showing that high demand non-superhero books, particularly first issues of classic characters, remain a strong force in the collector market. Overall, the Daily Shaker report indicates a highly active market where key Silver Age debuts and historical importance drive 5-figure results. Which of these sales surprised you the most? Hulk, JLA, or Richie Rich? Let's talk about that in the comments. And a quick reminder before we head out, don't miss our weekly interview series that we have on IHAVE Comic Issues. It's called Comic Channel Origins, where we sit down with the most passionate comic book YouTubers out there and hear how they got started and share their journey with all of you. And this Sunday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, I am sitting down because it's Comic Curing Cancer Month, sitting down with the organizer of the Comic Curing Cancer, Rob's Fast Sex of Comics, Mark from Legion of Comics, and DJ Links. I'm going to be talking to him about the origins and creation of the Comics Curing Cancer movement here on YouTube. So please join us. Feel free to ask questions, join us in chat, and just support a great cause and organization. And then that's going to be it for today's episode of Comic Issues Daily. Thank you for hanging out. Hit the like button if you had a good time. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and ring that bell if you don't, so you don't miss tomorrow's show. Until then, keep collecting, keep reading, and I'll catch up with you in the next one. Thank you guys, and we'll see you later.